Hello and welcome to the Ramblings of a 42-Year-Old Man. Chris Smith here with you today, and we're going to do our weekly roundup for this week. Couple TV shows, a movie, couple books. We'll talk games and stuff like we always do, and then we'll end off the video with a Sports Minute, and we'll talk a little bit about football, probably, as what Sports Minute usually is. So stay tuned. We'll get started with TV and movies and see where we go from there.
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings. Buckle up. If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
All right, so I did catch one movie this week, but I am going to start on the TV show side because we had a couple big TV show returns. One return and one brand new show. So we'll start with the new Star Wars show, Ahsoka, which, of course, is the character that was created by Dave Filoni in the Clone Wars as Anakin Skywalker's Padawan. 7 seasons of Clone Wars. She had some parts in the Star Wars Rebels TV show as well. She's been in video games of Star Wars, and now she's got her. She was kind of introduced in live action with Rosario Dawson playing her in The Mandalorian. Also was in one of the Boba Fett episodes, and now has her own show. And this show, what I love about it, being that I have watched all of that stuff, is it's almost a continuation of that Rebels TV show. So the downside of that is if you have not watched Rebels, you may not quite understand what's going on here, because other than Ahsoka, the other main characters so far in the show are the Rebels characters. Sabine Wren, who's played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, I love that name, who does, by the way, an amazing job. I mean, she is just like the character Sabine Wren in the TV show, which, if you have not seen Star Wars Rebels, it is a cartoon, but it is a definitely more adult geared cartoon. It's not necessarily a kids show. I mean, kids obviously would enjoy it as well, but it is, very enjoyable for adults too. I've watched all 4 seasons. I can't remember how many seasons it is, but I've seen them all, and it kind of starts where you're kind of whole new characters that you've never really gotten to know before. By the time you get through it, man, you are in love with these characters, and they're amazing. And so I'm very, very excited for the show because it's kind of like a continuation of that show. So like it a lot. Rosario Dawson is playing Ahsoka. And again, if you're somebody who's just watched the Star Wars movies, you're not going to know, who this is, because she was introduced and her main part of the Star Wars universe is in the Clone Wars cartoon. Now she has been, like I said, on The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett too. So if you've been catching up on the Star Wars live action shows on Disney Plus, you'll recognize this character. But otherwise, again, if you're just watching the movies, you're probably wondering, what the heck am I watching here? But I would assume if you're watching this show that you probably have some backstory of these TV shows that have taken place, at least the ones on that have come out on Disney Plus, like The Mandalorian. So for me, first 2 episodes came out this week. Watched them, loved them a lot. First one was directed by Dave Filoni, who was one who created the Clone Wars, created the character of Ahsoka Tano pretty much. Also ran the Rebels TV show, and you can tell this is kind of his baby here. So the first one was a lot of kind of plate setting, getting to know the characters a little bit. And then by the second one, the plot's really starting to kick in, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. I believe it is either 8 or 10 episodes. I think they're usually around 8, so it's probably 8 episodes. We've seen 2 of them now, so definitely liked what I've seen so far, and hopefully it'll stay good going forward as well. I think it's going to release every Tuesday primetime around 6 o'clock. They used to do midnight releases. Now they're doing like 6 o'clock Tuesday night releases. So if you're on the East Coast, that's 6 o'clock, and then go back in time from there, or forward in time, however it is when you go to the West Coast. So that's Ahsoka. We'll talk about another TV show real quick before we jump into the movie for the week.
Opening night, and a big star drops dead on stage.
Oh my god, my leading man is dead! Is this really happening?
Well, who are we without a homicide?
NYPD! The killer is someone in this room.
My show is hanging on by a thread here.
Finding this killer is the only way you'll have a show. Want to make a podcast with me?
Oh my god, this is corny.
I know it is.
Yeah.
Murder?
Yeah, murder. Yeah.
All right, so Ahsoka was the new TV show that I started watching this week. We also had a returning show. This one my wife and I like to watch together, called Only Murders in the Building. This is a Hulu show starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. If you have not heard about this one's really fun. This is season 3 of the show now. It's been out for couple of years now, and pretty much involves Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez live in this apartment building in New York. And by the first season, somebody gets murdered there, and they kind of create a podcast where they're investigating the murder. Second season, same thing happens. Somebody dies in the building, and they decide they're going to do another season of their podcast and try to solve the murder. This one, again, similar things. Now, this one, also along with those 3, has guest starring roles from Paul Rudd, and Meryl Streep is now in this season. So they're definitely bringing in the cast, and it's a lot of fun. I love this show. This show's a lot of fun. I mean, Steve Martin and Martin Short are always amazing, but Selena Gomez is kind of sometimes steals the show a little bit. She does a really, really good job. So it's very, very good to see. I'm very excited for season 3 to be back. At this point, there's been, I think, 4 episodes. I think there's 10 episodes usually in this show, so another 6 more to go of it. And they come out each week on, I believe they come out on Tuesdays as well. Tuesdays is a big TV show day, I believe. So yeah, that's on Hulu. I would definitely catch that one if you are into just, the funniness of Steve Martin and Martin Short. If you're, younger and you want to see Selena Gomez, she does a great job in it as well. And then, if you just enjoy fun, it's definitely comedy, but it's not like slapstick comedy. It's just kind of, really fun TV show. This one will be a good one for you. And again, on Hulu. So that's Only Murders in the Building. Let's get into our movie for the week, and then we'll continue from there. All right, so one movie I caught this week was The Borderlands, which is I guess it was a British movie. It's called The Borderlands in Britain. When it came to the U.S., they changed the name to Final Prayer. I have always seen it as The Borderlands whenever I've looked it up, but when I looked it up yesterday on Tubi, it was under Final Prayer, so that's how we had to watch it. So you can look it up under either name. But this is a found footage movie. Involves a contingent of people being sent from the church to investigate this little tiny church in somewhere, I think it's Scotland, possibly, where there's been signs of a miracle taking place. And they're being sent by that. They have to, pretty much everything has to be on camera, because they've had one of these investigations recently where things went really bad and a bunch of priests died. And so they want video evidence of the entire investigation. So that's how we get the found footage aspect of it. So there's 3 guys investigating. They each are wearing GoPros the entire time. They have cameras all around the place where they're staying, also the church that they're investigating. And so that's kind of the conceit of how we're getting this found footage. This one's a really good one. I've seen a lot of found footage stuff. I'm trying to do some kind of research into putting together a found footage episode where I talk about some of the highlights, and so I wanted to catch this one because I've seen this one before, but I really wanted to remind myself about it because it had been a while, and it is one of the better ones. The characters, especially the 2 main characters of the 3, there's a third one that's kind of like the jerk character, but the main 2 characters, it really kind of they get to know each other at the beginning. They're just meeting, and then by the time the movie's really rolling, they built a camaraderie together that's pretty cool to see. And then of course by the last act of the movie, all the stuff goes down. It goes into some really interesting places. You're thinking, oh, religious church is all going to be demons or ghosts or something, but it goes somewhere where you're not expecting by the very end of it. The last scene is you might have to pause or rewind it and be like, what the heck did I just see? But it's very, very affecting, very cool. So that is The Borderlands, or if you're looking it up here in the States, it would be Final Prayer would be how you would find it. Although I think I searched The Borderlands on my Roku and it pulled up Final Prayer, so I was able to find it that way, so it's really not too hard. But that was a 2013 film, and yeah, a lot of fun. Enjoyed that one. So that takes care of television and movies. We'll start looking at some of the books I read this week next. All right, so a couple books on the audiobook front I listened to. Come Closer by Sara Gran, which I have heard about a lot in the past, and I've always been trying to find it. I've never been able to get it in my library. My library's never kept it in stock, but I found a copy on Audible, and I had recently signed up for like a special Audible 99 cents a month, and this was my last credit before that 99 cents a month ended, so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to grab this book that I've heard so much about. I want to check it out, and so Come Closer is a kind of a demonic possession book, but from the first-person narrative of the person being possessed, so it's very interesting that way. So This kind of 34-year-old married lady who's she's got a good job that she likes, and she's got a loving husband that she loves, but, obviously, as these demonic possession movies do, things start to happen, and a lot of drama builds up, and she starts having blackouts, and she wakes up in places she doesn't understand how she got there, and she does things that she doesn't remember doing, and the way that it's the first-person narrative really gives you this different look at this possession kind of book. It's not very long. It only took about 3 hours, I think, to listen to. So not a very long story, but more novella size, but very, very intriguing, very affecting, and it's got an ending that will stick with you a little bit. So that's Come Closer by Sara Gran. And then I also listened to the audiobook of After the People Lights Have Gone Off, which is Stephen Graham Jones. Again, we've talked about him many times on this channel. Love his stuff. Found this one again on Audible. I think I've devoured everything I can get through the library on him. He's got a lot of older stuff on Audible that I found, so I was able to listen to this. This is a group of short stories that he did, one of which is pretty much the opening chapter of Mongrels, which is an amazing chapter. It ends in such a way that you're just like, oh my goodness, this is not what I was expecting to read. And I had read that book, and now I heard the short story. I'm like, hey, this sounds really familiar. I'm like, oh, okay, you must have started off with this idea and then built from it for Mongrels. So it's very cool to see how that process worked. And still, that part of Mongrels and this short story is hugely affecting. I think I've used that word a lot today, but yeah, you really feel it, the outcome of that story. But a lot of these stories are good. That's just a highlight. But yeah, Stephen Graham Jones, After All the People Lights Have gone off, I believe. And like that one, I have loved everything that I've read from Stephen Graham Jones. And like last week, we talked about Demon Theory. We've talked about, of course, My Heart is a Chainsaw and Don't Fear the Reaper, which I believe are his two best. The Only Good Indians is great. Mongrels is amazing. Again, I have not read anything of his that I have not super, super, super enjoyed. That gets us through the book front. We'll talk a little bit about a podcast I've listened to that I caught this week, and then we'll get into games and start our Sports Minute. All right, so on the music and podcast front, not a lot of music this week. I was listening to the audiobooks most of my time, and then also I found this podcast called Talking Scared. What I love about this podcast, I have a lot of podcasts where I listen about horror movies or horror news, things like that. This is specifically about horror novels, and I love this idea. So this guy, there's 150 episodes of this show. I've listened to the first 4 at this point. He interviews horror authors, and so far it's not he's not out there trying to interview Stephen King or Dean Koontz or anything, but he's getting these guys like these newer, really hungry authors. I mean, like Paul Tremblay, who has done some amazing books, including The Cabin at the End of the World, which was just made in the movie Knock at the Cabin. He's had Sylvia Moreno Garcia, who we just talked about last week with her book. I'm blanking on the name right now. Anyway, we've talked about her just recently with her books. So a lot of these more modern authors, and what I've loved so far is there's been a couple authors in the first couple episodes that I did not know. And I've looked up their stuff, and now I'm looking at it, getting in my library so I can read and catch it. So I started following this just to give me some ideas for new books to listen to or read. And I'm very excited about it so far because, again, there's 150-something episodes. I'm 4 in, I'm already finding new stuff. So that is Talking Scared. I'm finding it on Apple Podcasts, but I'm sure it's on Spotify and anywhere else where you can pick up podcasts from. So love that a lot, and that's kind of what I'll probably be continuing to listen to for a while because there's a lot of episodes to catch up on. With that, we'll talk a little bit about games. Nothing really new on there, but we'll talk about where we're up to. All right, quick minute on the game front. It's still Final Fantasy VI and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. I did finish Final Fantasy VI this week. Again, I've played it so many times, but every time I love it. And I mentioned last week, I'm playing a specific version that has a bonus dungeon at the end because it kind of gives you that reason to use all of your characters because you have to run through this dungeon with 3 different parties of 4 characters. So you're using all of them, which I enjoy because I like having the reason to really use all these characters. Every character in this game I love for one reason or another. So again, Final Fantasy VI, amazing. There's scenes and music that every time I play it, it just blows me away. The opera scene, I can't ever, halfway asleep through that one. Every time that pops up, it gets my full attention. I have to make sure that nothing else is going on because that scene is just, it's still, here's that word again, it's still an affecting scene, even, 30 years later after it came out. But man, I still remember when I saw it the first time on Super Nintendo, I'm like, this is crazy that this could be on the Super Nintendo because, at that time we're playing things like Super Mario World and stuff, and all of a sudden you see this big cinematic scene in the middle of a Super Nintendo game. It's just absolutely crazy. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, still working through. Didn't play it that much this week. I got really into the Final Fantasy 6 thing because I was kind of getting towards the end game, and so that took a lot of my gaming time. But yeah, we'll continue through that one and hopefully wrap that up soon. Not sure what I'll do next on the gaming side. I think whenever I finish Knights of the Old Republic 2, I might grab Final Fantasy 12. It's been a little while since I played that one. I have a Switch version now to try out, so I'm very excited to play it on handheld, see how that goes. But yeah, we'll talk about that hopefully upcoming pretty soon. All right, that's kind of it for gaming. We'll do a sports minute. I think I'm going to try to invite David in because he always likes to talk about sports. We did some fantasy football, and we'll see if we can't maybe get a little bit of a guest episode here with David. Stay tuned. Turn off. All right, sports time.
Yep.
With my special guest,
me,
David,
who has a
he's got
cough right now.
He's not feeling the hottest. Well, I guess he might be feeling hot. I don't know. Anyway, he's coughing over here, so we'll see how we get through this. But we are going to take this minute to real quickly talk about
sports.
Well, yes,
or fantasy football.
Fantasy football. So we did a ESPN league. We both joined the same league
one?
together. So 2 of us and then a bunch of other people we don't know. But anyway, I ended up picking number 2. I ended up picking number 2. You picked when?
5.
5. So I had the choice between Chase McCaffrey, and I snagged up McCaffrey.
I picked Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that was a good first pick. What did I do with the second? Oh, I got St. Brown.
And I got A.J. Brown.
We went the Browns. Then third pick, I grabbed Mahomes. I went my top quarterback.
Jalen Hurts.
We both went top quarterback. Look at that. Fourth, I did Damian Pierce.
I forgot my 4th. I think I got Aaron Jones.
Fifth, I did DeAndre Hopkins.
I had DJ Moore.
Sixth, I grabbed Kittle for my tight ends.
That's it. I think I had Rashad White 5th, DJ Moore 6th.
There you go. DJ Moore's, that's a good pickup, 6th round. Mike Evans was my 7th.
My 7th was Isaiah Pacheco.
There you go. My 8th was Christian Kirk.
My 8th was Michael Pittman.
My 9th was Brandon Cooks.
I'm trying to remember. What did I do? Rounds. What did I round? Oh, okay. So, yep, I was right. Yeah, Michael Pittman, I was right.
Okay, so that was your 9th?
That was my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 8th. My 9th is George Pickens.
George Pickens, there you go. My 10th was Dalton Schultz.
DeAndre Swift.
My 11th was Anthony Richardson.
Gabe Davis.
My 12th was Jerick McKinnon.
Jamal Williams.
My 13th was Devin Singletary to back up Pierce.
Bills DST.
Ooh, I got Patriots DST with the 14th.
I got Harrison Butker at the 14th.
And then I went Tank Dell from the Texans with 15.
I'm still angry. You took him. Dalton Kincaid.
And then lastly, I took a kicker, Jake Elliott.
And now I need to show you my second QB, Brock Purdy! Mr. Relevant.
So when did you take a kicker?
I took him in the 14th round, Butker.
That's right, you took Butker in the 14th round. So anyway, that was our teams that we put together. I was pretty much right on my board. I knew I wanted the top quarterback in the 3rd. I knew if I was going to miss out on Mark Andrews and Kelsey, which I had a feeling I would want to get that next tier, which was Kittle, Pitts, or Joku or Ingram. So I was happy with Kittle. I did want to grab Anthony Richardson as my backup quarterback because I'm curious to see what he does. I'm only going to need him probably for 1 week when Mahomes is out, but. I wanted to get Tank Dell late because he's been looking pretty good in the preseason game he played in. So we'll see how that goes.
I hate when you took him. I screamed.
But that was fun. So yeah, so we did that. I picked up a second team already too. I ended up with the 3rd pick on that one. I'm not going through all 3 of the players, but I tried my best not to double up on players. That way, if somebody goes out, I did. I got Tank Dell and Damian Pierce again. Text them. What am I gonna do? But also, I think Damian Pierce, I think I picked him up in like the 5th, so that was a pretty good pickup, I thought. But anyway, I won't get into that too much. I just try not to double up on players in case somebody gets out with an injury. It doesn't mess up both my teams. So there I am, fantasy. You're going to do another fantasy draft sometime this week, right?
Yep.
And then Real football, preseason week 2 was last week, and Texans lost pretty rough. They did not look as nearly as good on defense as they did the week before, but the Miami has a much better offense than New England does. That's for sure. Stroud looked better. He played for the entire first half. Definitely some growing pains still to go with him, I think.
7 for 60 yards.
But definitely in there a little bit longer. He was making good reads. He just wasn't forcing anything. We had very vanilla offense out. I have a feeling that's going to stay vanilla until the regular season starts, probably. Then they'll start showing stuff. Same with the defense. That being said, preseason week 3 is coming up now, and the Texans play the Saints on Sunday.
Which we can actually see.
Yes, it should be on NFL Network, I believe. Or no, I think it's on Fox. I think it's on Fox this time.
Yeah, Fox.
So that's exciting. 3 preseason games we got to see the Texans. I never get to see the Texans here in Florida, so it's nice.
Jacksonville games.
Then the regular season will be starting after that. So
And we face the Ravens.
Be exciting time. So
Lamar Jackson went on with the defense.
that kind of takes care of Sports Minute. Anything else you want to talk about with sports?
Nope.
All
Other
right.
than maybe my fantasy baseball team. That could be another day.
Fantasy baseball. I have not gotten into that ever, but he has.
My team's number 1 in the league, so that's all I'm going to say.
There you go. All right. Thanks for watching. That'll be wrap up for our weekly wrap up as well. We already talked about the movies, the video games, and everything this week. We will see you again soon. Thank you for watching, and we'll get up here again next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye!